Do we have a technical difficulty?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the Northwest Community Council. Today is May 10th, 2021. I'm Paul Russell, and I would like to call this meeting to order. At this point, as is standard with the video meetings that we have become accustomed to, we'd like to run through the roll and just make sure that everybody's audio and video is working properly. So let's start with Councillor Kathy Daigle-Gammon.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and colleagues and staff. I just got sound, so that's great.
That's a step forward. Good evening. And Councillor Lovelace.
Good evening. I have sound, I have video. Welcome to everyone on the line. Thank you, staff, for being here. Looking forward to a great night.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Blackburn.
Hello, good evening, everybody, and special good evening and welcome to the folks joining us tonight for the public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor Outfit.
Good evening to my colleagues and staff and everybody listening in. Hello from Bedford Wentworth.
Good stuff. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of April 12th, 2021 and April 14th, 2021. April 14th was a joint Halifax and Northwest Community Council special meeting. So could I have a motion for the approval of those minutes, please? Councillor Lovelace, and can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Daigle-Gammon. Any errors or omissions in those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes from April 12th and April 14th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Beautiful, thank you. Approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Over to the clerk. Are there any additions or deletions?
Mr. Chair, there are no additions to the agenda or deletions.
Wonderful, thank you. Members of committee. Seeing none from the committee, can I have a motion for the approval of the order of business and approval for the order of business? There are no additions and deletions. Councillor Blackburn.
I so move.
And a seconder. Councillor Outfit. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Beautiful, thank you. Business arising out of the minutes is none. Call for declaration of conflicts of interest. And seeing none, motions of reconsideration is none. Motions of rescission is none. Consideration of deferred business is none. Notices of tabled matters is none. And so we are into public hearings. And I saw a new attendee. Is that the public speaker for? Yes. So let's proceed. This is item 10.1.1, case 22703. I'm going to ask the vice chair to step into the chair for this public hearing so that I can step out and actually be able to speak to this.
All right.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's over to you.
Sounds good. Sorry about that. I was waiting for Councillor Daigle-Gammon to take the gavel. I was thinking for some reason we were still in budget. I'm having flashbacks. Oh, my apologies, Mr. Chair. So yes, case 22703, amendments to development agreement for lands on Walker Service Road, Lower Sackville. I guess first up would be the presentation from staff on this.
Good evening, Madam Chair. My name is Paul Sampson. I'm just going to bring up the presentation. And I'm just going to seek the clerk's opinion here. Andrea, did you, is this hidden at the moment in terms of the video, sharing the screen?
Hi, Paul. Just a moment. I was just speaking with one of the registered speakers, so I'm just about to give you permission to share the presentation, and you should have it right now. My apologies for the delay.
It's a nice
Okay.
skylight. Oh,
Thank you. So can you see that now, the presentation?
Not yet. And is
Not yet.
Blackburn frozen? Oh, there you, okay, you're back.
Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Okay, how about now?
Yes, Paul, we can see the presentation now.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So this is case number 220703. It's an application for development agreement amendments on Walker Service Road in Lower Sackville. The applicant is WM Fairs on behalf of the property owner. The site is made up of 4 properties on Walker Service Road. Currently has civic addresses 26 and 34, but there are 4 properties in total. And the proposal is to amend the existing development agreement. This is the site outlined in red. You can see 4 properties in this image here. The site is at the southern end of Walker Service Road, near Old Sackville Road in Lower Sackville. So in terms of the site, there are some existing industrial buildings left over from former uses on the site, which included, I believe, a salvage yard and other industrial type uses. There are also 2 existing dwellings on at civic number 26 and 34. Now the total site size is a little over 10 acres. The existing residential development, as you see in this image, is to the west on Scott Edward Drive, and to the north and east of the site, and there's no development on the vacant land to the south of the site. In terms of the existing municipal planning strategy for Sackville and the land use bylaw, the zoning of the site is CDD, which is Comprehensive Development District, and that's applied to sites that are at least 5 acres large. And like I mentioned, this is a little over 10 acres. Under the planning strategy, the designation is rural residential, and that designation allows for urban service development by development agreement. The site has 2 existing dwellings and some industrial buildings, as you just saw. And under the MPS, the enabling policies that apply here are 3, UR10 and IM13. These are the policies set up for comprehensive development, and they're listed in the back of the staff report. Now, the existing development agreement on the site, this is a plan from that development agreement. It allows for 34 townhouses, 1 apartment building, as you can see, to the southeastern end of the site, 1 single unit dwelling to remain. It also allowed for a number of townhouses on a new cul-de-sac and a small public park. You can see right here in the middle of the site. And this development, in order for it to be serviced, the developer will have to pay to construct services along Walker Service Road, out to Old Sambro Road. Currently, the service exists only on Old Sambro Road. Now, in the new proposal,
forgive me, I believe you mean Old Sackville Road.
Old Sackville Road. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I said Old Sambro Road. Yes, so the existing services are on Old Sackville Road. So the current proposal now is to change the development agreement to allow 2 residential multi-unit buildings, 56 units apiece, keep the 2 existing dwellings and allow them to be repaired or replaced on the site. There would be no longer any need for, under this scenario, for a new street. So it would be just 1 driveway to replace the 2 existing ones on the site. So 1 driveway would be eliminated. And also there would be no public park as part of this proposal. And as you see here, the kind of a light shaded area around the buildings would be for landscaped areas for just tenants of the building. So it would be private landscape space. And this is from the existing agreement. This is just an elevation of a proposed apartment building. And so both buildings would fall under this kind of scenario. So the elevation is not proposed to change, like the look of the building would remain the same. So in terms of the policies and the list of items that council should consider when thinking about allowing changes to the development agreement, would be land uses, things like building height and the appearance of the building and how much space it takes up on the site, public open space and proximity to community parks, schools, and transit. These are items that all development agreements in a comprehensive development district would, these are the considerations for all development agreements. Also, the adequacy of servicing to make sure the capacity is there and the services are available. Traffic, driveways to and from the site and parking requirements. Environmental control, site suitability, things like storage and signs and general maintenance and upkeep of the site and any other land use concerns. So in terms of public engagement, we mailed letters out to property owners in the area and requested feedback, and we put the information on the HRM website so it was easy to access. These are the comments that we got back. Just kind of the focus of the comments was more on in terms of not having more apartments and the townhouses were preferred. Concerns with traffic and site driveways and things like that, pedestrian walkways on the site, but also the lack of pedestrian walkways in the area in general. And also there was some concern about the loss of the park in the proposal that currently exists, and concerns with environmental issues and blasting and noise during construction. So we mailed out 46 notices. There were about 10 calls and emails back. Since the public consultation, we had about 123 views of the webpage and 7 emails received from residents in the area. So this went to Northwest Planning Advisory Committee in November, and the committee recommended that the application be approved without conditions. However, the version of the proposal at that time included a small public park. And since that time, we've had discussions with our legal department, and it was determined that HRM doesn't really have the authority in this particular case to accept parkland. And so as a result, the proposal was changed to just have that as private open space for the tenants. Now that is not necessarily a bad thing, because the private open space would be completed when the building is completed, and that landscaping work would be done. Whereas if we took a piece as parkland, it may not be actually developed for a number of years. So that was, I guess it's you know, it's a bit of a, there's pros and cons to that. So in terms of the aspects of the amending agreement, the key issues here are really that the buildings, although there's one additional apartment building, they're still limited in height to 4 stories. In this case, there will be large setbacks from the side property lines that abut residential backyards, and especially on the Scott Edwards side, that side street, the setback of the building will be 175 feet, I believe it is, from the property line. And the developer has indicated that they're willing to, if there's any gaps where there's existing trees or any gaps where there's visibility, then they would add additional vegetation and trees to kind of provide a bit of a visual buffer. But even so, the apartments are quite a distance from the residential properties. In terms of landscaping, tree retention, so that would be mainly on those two, the north, I guess the north and south property lines. As well, surrounding the buildings, there would be landscaped areas, as you saw on the site plan. And in terms of the issues of traffic and density, our staff reviewed the traffic study. They had no concerns with that. Same with in terms of density, the developer has to construct services, and those services, they have to guarantee that the capacity is there as well, and that'll be done at the permitting stage. And in terms of density on this site, the density, because the lots are so large, the density for these apartment buildings would be much lower than many of the apartment buildings that exist right now in Lower Sackville, because just simply the sheer size of these parcels would be unusual compared to existing apartment buildings around the Cobequid Road and Sackville Drive areas. So staff recommend that council approve the amending development agreement as that's attached to the staff report dated February 12th. And if you have any questions, a clarification, I can respond to those now.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and my apologies, I didn't introduce you, Paul Sampson. And just to quickly go over the order of events for this meeting. So we've had our staff presentation, and then the applicant will also have an opportunity to present this evening. And then we go to the public hearing speakers list. So anybody who's listening in and watching this evening, just a reminder that all speakers would have had to have signed up before the deadline, and that was 4:30 p.m. the business day prior to the hearing. So that would have been 4:30 on Friday that our speakers would have had to have signed up. We have one speaker who is registered for this public hearing tonight. So having heard from Paul Sampson, we need some questions of clarification for Paul. So if you wish to ask a question of Paul Sampson, just put your name in the oh geez, can I see the chat? Yes, I can. Just put your name in the chat, and I will call upon you. And first up, Councillor Paul Russell with a question of clarification. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, excuse me, Mr. Chair. The registered speakers had some issues with his audio and being able to hear. He left the meeting and rejoined, and I just want to confirm with him if he can actually hear the proceedings. Do you mind if I check in with him?
Not a problem. Is it Chris?
It is Chris Rendell, yes.
Chris Rendell, are you? Yeah. I see Chris has popped up. So I think we do have him to some capacity here. Any luck, Andrea?
Just a moment.
Sure thing.
Chris, this is Andrea Lovasi-Wood, the clerk for the meeting. Can you hear me?
We don't see audio controls by Chris.
No, neither do I.
Yeah.
All right, I am going to get in touch with him via email, and I'm going to ask him to join by telephone because he's had a few issues with that.
I see audio controls by his name now.
Okay. Let's see if I can see them. Hi, Chris. This is Andrea speaking. Can you hear me and as well as be able to speak? No, he still has no audio.
All right.
I will get in touch with him to join by. Oh, hi, Chris. Is that you?
Sorry, it's not Chris, it's Cesar. I think you have us switched.
Sorry. Sorry, Cesar. Thank you very much for checking in. Chris
Yes.
Rendell?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
No, I think I just received an email from him. He is having audio issues. I'm going to ask him to join by telephone.
I just heard him say hello.
I think that may have been the applicant, Cesar Soleil.
Oh, it's me. This is me.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh.
Chris, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Just barely, Chris. Can you turn up the audio settings on your computer, please?
Oh, I can try. Yeah, I'm using earbuds. They're not loud enough.
No, they're not.
I'm going to try to disconnect it and just try it right from the laptop itself. Okay? It won't take a second.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Just barely. Hi, Chris. Are you still there?
All right. Well, it sounds to me like he's not going to be heard. So perhaps on phone might be best.
Okay, Madam
Lisa,
Chair.
you're now echoing, Lisa. Did anyone else hear that?
Yes, that was, looked like it was coming through Chris's audio.
Ah, okay. Okay, thanks.
All right. I will await your word, Andrea, to restart the meeting, just to make sure that Chris can hear everything that's being said and discussed.
So, Madam Chair, shall we take a break?
Yeah, if you want to take just a quick 5 minutes to get Chris and make sure that he can hear and see everything. I would hate to move on with the questions of clarification without him. So.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll be just.
All right, it's 7:24. So let's give it until 7:30. So 7:30, we'll come back and hopefully we'll have Chris on the line then, and we can restart. But in the meantime, reconvene at 7:30.
Hi, Chris. This is Andrea speaking. How are you? Can you hear me and can you speak? Hi, Chris. I can see that you are in the meeting. If you are on your telephone, please press *6 to unmute your phone.
Would he have to be in as a panelist or can he be an attendee?
If he's on the phone, he can only be in as an attendee,
Oh, I see. Okay.
but he's not showing up as being on his phone. So I'm going to try promoting him. Hi, Chris. I can see your video. Can you verify the audio settings on the mic icon that's at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen? There's an up arrow, and just check your audio settings to see if your audio and mic are turned on. You can select a microphone and select a speaker. All right, Chris, we're not seeing your audio is working. I sent you an email with the telephone connection to join the meeting. So I'm going to ask you to leave the Zoom meeting and to rejoin by telephone, and hopefully that will rectify the situation. Can you give me a nod to indicate that you'll join by telephone, please?
That doesn't look promising. All right, well, I can see that Chris has disappeared off the screen, so perhaps he's joining us by phone now.
I hope so. I'm just keeping an eye on him, and when I see him in the meeting, I will let you know.
All right.
Would it make sense to proceed with the other case and come back when Chris's connection information has been restored.
Now,
Or we could do a couple of first readings, Mr. Chair, at least.
Actually, I see he's in now. I'm just going to see Chris. I see you're in the meeting and your audio is indicating as turned on. Can you please confirm whether you're in the meeting if you're able to speak and if you can hear?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
No, you're very low.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No.
Is it
So
still too low?
yes, it's still very, very faint.
Oh my goodness. Well, then I've changed headphones. I've changed everything as far
Then I
as-
would suggest that you please leave the Zoom meeting and rejoin by telephone via the connection that I provided you. And we are going to take a break in this meeting and move on to another item on the agenda.
It's useless. I don't know what was said, what happened.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. It was terrible.
The applicant hasn't spoken yet. We've had the staff presentation.
Oh my God.
Were you able to hear the staff
I
presentation?
couldn't hear a single word of any. I could
Okay.
hear you perfectly clear.
All right. Can you?
hear me?
I'm going to ask you to leave the meeting and you and I can touch base via telephone, and I'm going to let the meeting continue on to another item. Okay.
You're gonna have to give me some time because I had to change my phone.
Okay.
because of
Chris, I'm going to ask you to leave the Zoom meeting and call me on telephone, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your patience, Chris. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. So in that case, I'll hand the chair back over to you, Councillor Russell, and you can take us through the rest of the agenda, and then we'll regroup when this item comes back.
Sounds fair. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your indulgence. Let's move on for now to item number 10.1.2. This is case 21355, development agreement for a residential subdivision between Lively Road and Wilson Lake Drive in Middle Sackville. And we have with us this evening Stephanie Saloom. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to share my presentation. Oh, I need to wait for Andrea to give me permission.
Good evening, Councillor. It's Thea Langell. I thought maybe we might be just doing other items on the agenda before moving into the other public hearing. I could be wrong, but
We could certainly do that. I just jumped to the next item on the agenda. Would there be a reason why we should not proceed with this one?
I think it's
Ross-Siegel, present producer.
Simon?
Sure,
I
Simon.
think just jumping in for a minute, I'm going to take over clerking responsibilities while Andrea jumps off just to assist the public speaker for the first matter. I think it would be best, Mr. Chair, through you to Community Council, if possible, to move to the other items in the agenda first. That'll make sure that Andrea and I are both able to assist in the full capacity for the second public hearing. It just keeps things a little bit more organized. That said, certainly the decision is up to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Does any member of the Community Council have any objection to moving ahead with items 11 and beyond in the
No,
Nope.
sounds good to me.
Yeah, go
Okay.
for it.
Chair, I'm only wondering about, is there another speaker that's lined up for the public hearing that may have a time crunch? Should we check to make sure there?
And that other speaker would be Melissa Boland, who would be speaking for the item 10.1.2.
Right.
Can you hear me? It's Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Melissa. We
I
can hear
just
you.
got magically unmuted. I'm fine. I can definitely wait and let you carry on with the agenda as you need to.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Melissa. Okay, so let's move ahead with item 11.1 then over to the clerk. This is correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Simon producing for Andrea. I do not believe that there is any correspondence beyond correspondence submitted for the 2 public hearings. I will go ahead and check and see if I can get a quick answer to you. I'm just getting a note that that's correct.
Thank you. Wow, it sounds like we have a number of audio issues this evening.
This is Simon Ross-Siegel filling in for Andrea in clerking, and I can confirm that there has been correspondence received for the public hearings and no other correspondence for this agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. And so we have received all of the items of correspondence that have been received for the public hearing. So 11.2 is petitions. Are there any petitions? Not seeing any. 11.3 is presentations. Information items brought forward is none. Item 13.1.1 is case 23061, a development agreement for an outdoor dog run at Lot 2 Glen Arbor Way in Hammonds Plains.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Lovelace.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes, so shall I put the motion on the floor then?
Yes, please.
I move that Northwest Community Council give notice of motion to consider the proposed development agreement as set out in attachment A of the staff report dated March 29th, 2021 to enable an outdoor dog run kennel at Lot 2 Glen Arbor Way, PID 414-80120, Hammonds Plains, and schedule a public hearing.
Second, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to confirm one thing in the wording. It's that you are moving. It is not that you are giving notice of motion, and I'm not sure if somebody is on the phone to confirm that.
It says notice of motion in the motion on the agenda.
It does. It says, yeah, it says
it does say that. You read it correctly. I'm just wondering if the wording is
but
correct.
It seems odd that it would be a notice of motion considering I am actually making the motion.
Right.
It should be first reading to schedule a public hearing. So what you're
That's
saying.
correct.
Right.
Yes. I would think.
Yeah,
So,
no, you're right.
That's right. So I'll just reread that. That Northwest Community Council, I move that Northwest Community Council give first reading to consider the proposed development agreement as set out in attachment A of the staff report dated March 29th, 2021 to enable an outdoor dog run kennel at Lot 2 Glen Arbor Way, PID 414-80120, Hammonds Plains, and schedule a public hearing. Thank you, colleagues.
And I'll still second it.
Thank you, Councillors Lovelace and Oathhead. Peter Nightingale, are you with us this evening?
Do we not have to vote on it? No. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Peter Nightingale is not here this evening, but if you have any specific questions, I will do my best to answer those for you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for case 23061? If so, please indicate that in the chat.
No questions, but Thea finally got her halo, I see.
Yeah. I don't have any questions other than to say that, I think it's really great to see that the changes, that have been made and acknowledged some of the concerns with the public. And I'm just really happy to see this go forward to the public to have a hearing, and look forward to receiving more public feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any other questions. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Great, thank you very much. 13.1.1 carries. we see Chris Rendell in the meeting. Should we, Andrea, are we good to confirm audio and then proceed?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just a moment.
Okay.
Mr. Rendell, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I can hear you much better. I am glad.
That is awesome. Thank you very much. So at this point in the discussion, we have had the staff presentation. I'm going to step back out of the chair. Councillor
All
Blackburn.
right. Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
So, Councillor Blackburn, before we proceed, I just want to
Yes,
make you
ma'am.
aware that Chris, because of his audio difficulties, did not have an opportunity to hear the staff presentation. And I've been consulting with Roxanne, and it would be up to you to decide whether or not we want to have staff redo the presentation so that Chris can hear the contents of the presentation. He does have it available to him online, but probably because of his audio difficulties, hadn't watched it on the YouTube feed.
Okay. It does, and he has the slide deck available to him?
No, he does not.
Oh, okay. In that case, Paul, Paul Sampson, if you would quickly indulge us and just give us the Coles Notes version of the presentation that you just made, we'll bring Chris up to speed, and then we'll proceed from there, if that's okay.
Okay. Actually, what I could do here just quickly is just do a very brief one. So the application is case number 22703. It's an application to amend a development agreement. It is at 26 and 34 Walker Service Road in Lower Sackville. Let's see. The existing development agreement is for 34 townhouse units, 1 apartment building, and 1 single unit dwelling. And the proposed amendments, the proposal is to have 2 apartment buildings, 2 single unit dwellings, and 1 driveway to replace the formerly proposed public street. And there would, in this proposal, also not be public park, but would be landscaped open space for tenants. And I believe we left off at items for clarification by council.
Yes, we were just about to get into the questions of clarification. And Councillor Russell, you're up first with your question.
Sure. Thank you very much. You had gone over briefly what some of the concerns were. They were related to traffic. There were some concerns. Oh gosh, I'm trying to envision the slide and I can't right now. What happens as far as water and sewer for the property? Would you mind confirming that?
Sure. The current services that exist are on Old Sackville Road. And so the water and sewer, the developer would have to connect this site along Walker Service Road to the services. So they basically would have to construct services to this site from Old Sackville Road. And that would be at their own expense to service the development.
And so would they typically, for this construction, would they typically run up Walker Service Road directly and disturb the road, or would they go beside it up to the area of the site, or would they take a third path? And I'm not sure what that third path would be.
That would be determined by Halifax Water, and prior to any construction, they would have to enter into an agreement with Halifax Water. So those details would get worked out in terms of where the services would run. But typically they're, yeah, I mean, typically they're within the road right of way of Walker Service Road in this case.
Okay, in this case, this roadway is 1 lane each way with minimal shoulder and a ditch on the side. So presumably it would be close to or at the ditch that is on the side closest to the property. But that's an assumption until we see the permitting.
Right. So again, this would be all worked out at the permitting stage. At the moment, Halifax Water has looked at this proposal, and they looked at the existing proposal prior to that development agreement being approved, and the details typically get worked out at the next stage, which is prior to and during the permit process. So those details at the moment are not available.
Okay. Thank you. And the change in density, I guess that was 9%. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Councillor Russell. Deputy Mayor Tim Althett, you're next.
Thank you, Chair. Paul, we'll start this question for you, although Roxanne may have to help out. I was just a little confused or a little intrigued about the comment about parkland. Certainly HRM can require and acquire parkland. And I have seen that public space and non-disturbance areas, etc., certainly be required in development agreements over the years. So I'm just looking for a little bit of clarification, because in your slide, you said that, is it the problem that this is not an MPS or a master plan item, so it's not in front of regional council? Is that the problem, that we as community council can't acquire and require parkland? Because that was a little confusing to me. If someone can help that.
My understanding of the issue is that when under the existing development agreement, the proposal is to have multiple townhouse lots on a new cul-de-sac, and that like any subdivision process that involves new streets, multiple lots, there is that parkland component that's there, and the developer would have to, as long as the land is suitable and it meets our standards, then we would want parkland or some kind of combination of land and cash in lieu, that sort of thing. But in this case, because the only, and it's more of a technicality, but the only subdivision now that's proposed is the alteration of an existing boundary line between those two apartment buildings. So, I mean, I can bring up the plan again if you want to look at it, but basically it's an existing line that just would be reconfigured, and it doesn't result in any additional lots, and that's the technicality. So no new lots are being created, therefore the parkland requirements do not kick in at all.
So it's almost, it's not as of right, but it's less of a subdivision. Is that
right? It's more to do with the fact that there is because there's no additional lots, and maybe if Roxanne wants to, but if I don't have that right, maybe if she can clarify.
No, I'm just curious, so thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Not seeing any other questions of clarification. I'll ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
The developer, I think, wishes to say a few words.
Yes, and after the public hearing is open, I'll invite him to speak for sure. So looking for a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved, Councillor Russell.
Second. Tim.
Moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tim Althett. So yes, at this point now we will hear from the applicant. Cesar is joining us this evening, and you have 10 minutes to address council and make your presentation, sir.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me well?
We can, sir. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, members of Community Council, good evening. My name is Cesar Sala. I am with WM Fairs Architects, who is representing the owners of the subject project. Thank you for considering our case, and thank you to Paul and HRM staff for their collaboration. We are happy that the subject application is coming to you with positive recommendations from both HRM staff and Northwest Planning Advisory Committee. As Paul mentioned, we are proposing an amendment to the existing development agreement to replace 34 three-story townhouses within 7 blocks with a single 4-story multi-unit residential building. The reason behind the request is related to project viability, specifically the costs associated with construction of the public road, subdivision, and the extension of services from Old Sackville Road. The planning and public engagement process has gone quite smoothly from the onset. This is mainly due to the following merits. The revised proposal has 37% less building coverage and 50% less asphalt pavement, a reduction of 25,000 square feet of asphalt. This provides for better building siting, more open space and green space, increased tree retention, larger setbacks from existing dwellings, and better street appeal from Walker Service Road. With the new proposal, both existing dwellings along Walker Service Road are retained, which results in less construction debris going to the landfill site. The build-out time of the revised proposal is 2 to 3 years compared to 5 to 7 years for the original proposal. I would like to take a few minutes to address some of the concerns raised as part of the public engagement process. First, on the matter of traffic, HM traffic engineer has reviewed our proposal together with the traffic report and agrees with the findings. In addition, we have combined 2 driveways into one, which further enhances vehicular circulation. This development agreement also confirms that there will be no vehicular access to Bryan Drive. Regarding the concern that people will park on the street, we are confident that the proposed underground and surface parking is more than sufficient to accommodate all the parking needs. And as you can see from our site plan, there is ample room to add parking if required. Regarding the opinion on apartment versus townhouses, we continue to see a high demand for new quality multi-unit residential buildings in the Sackville area. The highest demand is coming from residents of Sackville who want to downsize but stay in their respective communities. As for the removal of the park dedication parcel, as Paul explained, this was triggered in the initial proposal as a result of subdivision requirements. Since land subdivision is no longer required under this proposal, staff has informed us that there is no legislative authority to write this in the DA. I just wanted to point that we actually kept the park dedicated proposal until just recently, where they were informed that that could not happen. Having said that, I would like council to know that not all is lost here. Under the initial proposal, we were deeding over a raw piece of land to the Parks Department. We are not sure if or when Parks was going to invest in this piece of land. However, with the new proposal, the same parcel of land will be landscaped with trees before the site is even occupied. On the matter of not impacting the Sackville River, the development agreement under Section 5 requires clear erosion and sedimentation measures as per Nova Scotia environment guidelines prior to any work commencing on the site. Anyone who knows the existing condition of the site and its historical use would agree that the proposed development would be an immense improvement both environmentally and aesthetically. In addition, the reduction of 25,000 square feet of asphalt over what was previously approved adds significant environmental benefits. Finally, both HM staff and our design team concur that the proposal in front of you today is reasonably consistent with the intent of the Sackville Municipal Planning Strategy, and we hope to get your approval. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. And do we have any questions of clarification for the applicant? If so, you can just indicate in the chat that you're looking to speak. And not seeing anything. All right, so then at that point, we shall move on to the, oh, do you have a question there, Councillor Russell?
Thank you very much. I've got a couple, and I'm not sure if one of them counts as a question of clarification, so I'm going to proceed with the ones that do. I just want to make sure that the two driving factors behind this were the cost of establishing the roadway in this area and the cost of the extension of services. So the cost of, if I'm reading that correctly, extending water and sewer services to this property. Is that correct?
Not entirely. Yes or no. It's the compounding cost effect. So just wanted to give you a little bit of history. This project started in 2012, and the development, the planning and the development agreement, all the studies and reports took quite a while. So by the time this was approved in 2016, and later on, the cost, the street was designed shortly after. The anticipated cost to do all this work, including building the public street and going through subdivision, the costing had significantly changed, and as a result, it became not viable. So the extension of the services have always been there. It just, time had passed, and as a result of the time passing, the cost of constructions changed, and combining all these things together, that was made the project not viable.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whose puppy that is, but I would tend to blame Councillor Blackburn for that.
Not mine.
She's hiding her head in shame. Okay. Okay, I had originally heard that it was the cost of the public roadway that had made the difference. It's good to hear that the services would be extended to that property. Would they be done in a manner that would be amenable to extending them beyond that property? Or would they be built with a natural termination at that property? So for example, if I lived on Scott Edward Drive, Bryan Drive, or Kelly Court, would it be feasible to extend the services to those streets?
From my understanding, and I have to admit, I don't have the 100% the correct answer here. From past experience, my understanding is the requirement is to bring the services to the edge of your property. So it does not matter where your driveway is coming into the property. Services will be extended to the farthest point of your property. But I'm not certain with that. That's a question that maybe staff could answer. At this point, I'm just talking from experience. My understanding is services would extend right to the edge of the property line on the other side. So it would pass the driveway going in, and it would go all the way fronting the property to the other side.
So at least to
Civic 34.
Civic 34. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're required to bring the services all along the frontage of your property, to my understanding.
Wonderful. I appreciate that. Thank you. My only other question is the one that might not be appropriate for this, but can you give a rough estimate of how much the apartments might cost? Would they be, we have some new buildings that are going to be more higher end apartments. We have some that are going to be more mid-range apartments. I'm just wondering, what would be the relative cost of these apartments?
Are you asking about the rents?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I cannot comment on that. I'm just carrying the planning part, and that's strictly marketing. I would not have that answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Paul Sampson here. Just with regards to the question about servicing, my understanding also is that the developer would be servicing and undergoing the cost of connecting to the existing services in Old Sambro Road, but for their development only. I'm sorry, Old Sackville Road, for their development only. So in other words, other property owners would not have the right to hook in. These wouldn't, my understanding is it's not the construction of mains. It's the construction of servicing pipes to this site only and for this site only. That's my understanding. And I had a discussion with the development engineer on this, and she indicated that it would not be services that allow other people to hook in. So that's not part of the plan as far as I understand.
All right. Does that clarify for you, Councillor Russell?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Not seeing any other questions of clarification. Just quickly go over the rules for the public hearing. And any member of the public who registered with the clerk's office on this has been allotted 5 minutes to address this topic. So when I call your name, you can begin by stating your name of the community in which you reside for the record. And please, we ask you keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to the chair. And once you finish up, then you can hang up your phone or leave the Zoom meeting, and you can just watch the rest of the agenda using the webcast, and the link is on halifax.ca, the agenda page for this meeting. Clerk, I throw it over to you for the nuts and bolts of how do we maneuver through Zoom here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Chris, you can begin your 5 minutes now if you wish, please.
Oh, wow. Well, hello. Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
We can indeed, yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, Council, my name is Chris Rendell. I live at 10 Kelly Court. I've been here with the process of this since they had the initial meeting in the Sackville Library many years ago. So I'm not here as a negative Nelly or anything. This is the view of the people from around here. I'm not speaking for them, but we talk and we echo. So essentially, what everyone here feels is the original plan that we went to all the meetings for and everything, it reflected the area well. It was a community-based looking area. So like when you go to build a community, it's not a population bump like with an apartment building. 2 apartment buildings look like something from Eastern Europe. And you're just building population density. And over time, apartments will become transient. And it's the transient nature of people moving on. And I'm not against development, and we have to move forward. I just think we need to hold them to their original plan. And the original plan was with the townhouses and all that, and it looked nice. I would have to pass that every time I left my house, every single time for the rest of my life. Those 2 big buildings or that townhouse complex, that seemed like a community to me. We have a community here, but the apartments, those 2 big H-hut, if you put a breezeway in the middle of them, they'd be a military barracks. I mean, where they have the parking showing, just put a breezeway that connect the 2 of them. It's a military H-hut for barracks. I mean, it would be a rotten apple in that look. I'm just saying I'm not saying it's not a great idea to develop or even that type of development, but that's not the location for it. The location or it wasn't any smaller, I'm sorry, but the other design with the townhouses and everything was much more appropriate to the area. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to build a brick skyscraper next to a bunch of, old Cape Cod houses and such. It's not conducive. And I understand it's cheaper. The gentleman, Mr. Sia, I can't pronounce the developer. I can't pronounce his name. The audio was terrible, but like he said, they're reducing costs, and that is the goal. They're reducing costs. They're lowering the asphalt, and like he's saying, and all that kind of stuff. But the overall gain is they're trying to save more money, and saving more money is changing the design. So they've asked for one thing, they've gotten it. Now they want something different. So instead of going over, like people would have went nuts if this had went originally, right? In 2000 or whatever we did the first meeting, if they had to show two buildings like that, people would go crazy, right? But they agreed on that. So the proposal, the original one, and we were happy. We were going to live with it. I'd like to say one thing about Mr. Seed's comments. I would ask that he please not infer that the local people think that this is a good idea or anything like that. He inferred that it was a great idea. We're having this great, no person around here thinks it's a great idea. I live here and all my neighbors, I run every day past that. I run up and down Old Sackville Road. People see me. I'm the crazy old guy running all the time. And no one is for this. So to have a person infer that this is what the community wants, that's pretty insulting. right? So we just want to keep that where it should be. Anyway, my point is simply that we as a community in this area do not feel that the second proposal is in any way beneficial or more beneficial to Sackville as a community and in the future. So in 15 years in the future, when we go and we're gone and the future belongs to the people coming in next to us, do we want a derelict old looking building standing there like that because that's what happens to them? Or are we going to have a townhouse where people would probably take a little more pride in the area and it'll look a little nicer and maybe be more conducive to where every other house and every other thing on the place is, right? It's going to happen. And all I ask is the people who vote, please take all the matters into thought and as if they lived at 10 Kelly Court and they had to deal with all these things. And I know that we're going to have to deal with construction and I know that we're going to have to deal with all this. That's fine. It's progress and we need it. But we don't need, like, it's like buying the cheapest dollar store stuff and slapping it in there. And if that's how we want Sackville to, if that's what, we want our legacy to be, well, then there you go. Let's put that there, right? Save some money, somebody gets richer, right? But if not.
Mr. Rendell, you're at 30 seconds, please.
Okay, well, anyway, I yabbered too long and I'm sorry if anything, I stressed so much because of the computer not working. But anyway, I basically passed on my views for me and the people around here. And I wish the council members good luck in their decision and whichever it may be, it'll be 100% supported by me. I just like to let you know how we feel. So fine. In closing, thank you. And we always said in the military, do your job. Have a great day, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Glad we could get your comments in there. Just now wondering if the applicant wants a moment to briefly respond to any points raised by Chris.
Yes, just briefly, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Sure. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify in my comments, I wasn't inferring that this was I wasn't speaking on behalf of the community. I was stating my opinion. I did say that the process went smooth, and in our view, the process has gone smooth. We believe that this site is a good site for what's being proposed. This form of this residential form is a form that is needed, is necessary. We are seeing high demand in the Sackville area. So whatever we can propose this form and sites that can accommodate these buildings, they can be a good addition to the community. People do want the flexibility and the benefits of having this form of housing in their communities where they can downsize from their homes. We are designing and building these buildings all through the city, and they can coexist in a good way with established residential neighborhoods. This site is over 8 acres. The density that's being proposed for the site is very reasonable compared to the size of the site, and we think that it would be a good addition to the community. And as I mentioned before, the time of construction for a project like this is much less than having the previous proposal, which would mean that it would be less of disruption to the community during construction time. We see a lot of benefits for what we are proposing, and we hope that council approves this project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now having heard from staff, our public speaker, and the applicant, and no further speakers are on the list, looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
All right, so moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Lovelace. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, opposed? None. All right, so the public hearing has closed, and now this is an opportunity for staff to address any comments that you've heard from the public Paul, if you had anything further to add, jump on in.
Thank you. No further comments, Madam Chair.
All right. And any members of Community Council with any staff clarification? Not seeing any. All right. So at this point, what are the wishes of council?
I would like to move that, reading the motion that is in the agenda, that Northwest Community Council 1 approve the proposed amending development agreement, which shall be substantially of the same form as set out in attachment A of the staff report dated February 12, 2021, and 2, require the amending development agreement to be signed by the property owner within 240 days or any extension thereof granted by council on request of the property owner from the date of final approval by council and any other bodies as necessary, including applicable appeal periods, whichever is later. Otherwise, this approval will be void and obligations arising hereunder shall be at an end.
We have a mover. Anyone second?
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Lovelace. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor Russell. Would you want to add anything to this?
Yeah, if I may. Thank you. I had a look at this, and I've been involved with this. Gosh, I'm not sure if it's been since the beginning or not. And this was prior to my time on council when I was a member of the Northwest Planning Advisory Committee. That's when I first became aware of this development. And I thought that when I saw it, I thought that the townhouse concept and the apartment building was fantastic for this area. This had been an industrial area, and it is now turning into what looks like quite a nice residential area. There was going to be one property lost because of the format of the street, but it would be gaining a parkland and a number of townhouses, and not a dramatic shift in the character of the community. There are no other apartment buildings up this road at all. Everything is a medium, well, a small, medium, large home as you head up the road, and then you get to the Sackville Manor land lease community at the end of it. The apartment building that was originally proposed was tucked away behind a number of the townhouses, behind a number of trees, and behind a park. And I thought that was phenomenal. And I can certainly understand where the proponent has an interest in changing the plans, and had a look at that and thought that the design that they come up with about removing the street and having it as a driveway and parking lot that came up and having the two parallel buildings was good as well. There was parkland there, and that's gone. And the character of the buildings is now left with the parkland, some unknown amount of buffer, but not really anything providing the setback from them being as visible from the road or the rest of the community. My personal preference, and I've spoken with a number of the community members. These are community members that live on adjacent streets. So it's not that they live a mile away, it's that they live feet away. Their preference, and I support it, is retaining the current development agreement, not moving ahead with the changes. The water and sewer, it would be nice if it extended past this property so that it could service the further properties on Scott Edward Drive, Bryan Drive, and Kelly Court. The entire area is, well, Scott Edward Drive anyway, is within the Atrium Water Service boundary, but there is no actual service. Service does go along Old Sackville Road and not up Walker Service Road. So there was an opportunity there, but I don't think that opportunity would be realized. And so everybody around there would still be on, beyond this development, would be on well and septic. That's not a reason to, that's not an impactful reason on this decision at all. But I'm supporting the community in this one. And I would like to stick with the original development agreement, the one that's already been approved that has the townhouses and the one apartment building tucked behind the trees, where it is less impactful to the community. If I'm not mistaken, and I'm not sure who this is a question for, but does that mean that this motion gets defeated and there is an alternative brought forward?
Wondering if maybe someone from the clerk's office could weigh in on that.
Hi, Madam Chair. Yes, so you would need to defeat the motion on the floor. It's a positive motion, so we would need to defeat it. And then the reasons for that could be provided in the minutes. Roxanne, am I correct with that, or would they need to move a separate motion detailing the reasons for why it's being refused?
Well, no, and it would only be refused after the vote, so it would have to be defeated by the majority of the councillors. And the standard practice is for the reasons to come out of the discussion of council from a review of the minutes.
Do those reasons have to pass any bar?
The reasons for refusal have to be related to the MPS requirements.
So does that mean that a developer can come and get a development agreement and everything is good, and they work through whatever the standards of that are, and then they can effectively, by right, change anything that they want, come to us for a vote, and the only way that we can refuse it is if it doesn't agree or if there's something against the MPS requirements?
That's correct. Any amendments sought have to be reasonably consistent with the municipal planning strategy. So any refusal of council, so your reasons for refusing would also have to be reasonably consistent with the municipal planning strategy.
So just to confirm, they're asking us for permission to make a change, and we have a really high bar to set, relatively speaking. We can't just say we don't agree with the change. We have to justify it against the MPS.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm going to continue on where Councillor Russell was, because one of the things, and I don't know if we can even bring up the slide if Paul wants to, but one of the things that the MPS looks like and it looks at, and one of the reasons why this initially is approved, but because of the park and because of the townhouses, that we thought it was respectful and consistent with the surrounding community. And if the councillor for the area is concerned now that not having the parkland and not having townhouses, and as he mentioned, no apartments in the area, etc., then that is certainly an element of the MPS that you have to consider the surrounding areas. So if that is his concern, I would argue that, and I would think Roxanne would be able to argue that that is certainly an element of the MPS that he could express his concern about. I don't know if Paul or Roxanne would like to speak to that.
Paul Sampson here. I just wanted to point out that, as Roxanne mentioned, at the end of the staff report, it includes attachment C, which are what we felt are the most relevant policies that council should consider. So it's basically those policies at the end of the staff report that are in question here. I'm not sure.
But one of those is neighborhood compatibility.
There's several policies. Yes, there's several statements of policy. So it's reviewing those and making a decision based on those as a whole.
Yeah. Okay, as a whole, we could probably argue it, but anyway, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any further speakers on the motion? Not seeing any other speakers on the motion. Last chance, and we'll call for the question.
Can I just?
Sorry. Oh, are you? I'm sorry. Did you? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you in there as asking to speak. Sorry, Councillor Lovelace.
I'm having a lot of technical difficulties, so I was just in another room and watching the proceedings, but wasn't actually here. Another room in Zoom. So anyway, sorry. Apologies. So I guess what I'm really stuck on the fact that the original agreement contained the parkland, but this one does not need to. And I'm stuck on the fact that the water service boundary, well, we're right there, right? We're right there on the edge. And, I want to thank Mr. Rendell for coming forward and speaking. Because it's really important for us to recognize, as a community council, we have Northwest Community Planning Advisory Committee who comes forward and provides us with their feedback. And that's an important place, as Councillor Russell mentioned, that's an important place where community can have their say before we get to this process of making this decision. But what I think we are struggling with here is when an applicant comes in and then says, oh, wait, I've got another idea. There's something else that I want to do with this land. And what we end up with then is a community that committed to this one piece. This is what we decided we were going to do. We all agreed upon that. And now the community is being told, no, we're going to do this. And now we're hearing that the community actually isn't happy with that because, as we've already pointed out, it seems not to entirely fit with MPS. So I'm feeling like I want to make a decision that's based on what the community needs and what's best for the community. And so I just want to thank Councillor Russell for asking the questions that you did and pointing that out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Lovelace. Any other speakers to the motion? Not seeing any. Just wave your hand just in case. No. All right. In that case, no further speakers. What is somebody waving? I'm looking in the chat and
Sorry, Councillor Blackburn. I was late. I was trying to search through the file to figure out where I was going to be to speak, and I missed the opportunity there. But Paul had said somewhere at the end of the case file, the MPS strategy, what would be, something about at the very end, one of the attachments would say what were the proposed MPS policies that we needed to reference. And I was just wondering if he could direct me there right quickly.
Yes, Madam Chair. So that would be attachment C of the staff report, which is the table which includes the most relevant policies that involve this application.
And Paul, I don't seem to have that. Maybe I've got the wrong one open.
The very last 5 pages.
Oh, I had the wrong one open. Sorry. Yeah, the wrong one open. Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
All right. All right. Any other speakers to the motion? Any other speakers? Not seeing any. Question has been called for. Motion is on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
It would appear that the nays have it and the motion has been defeated. So now, where do we go from here, Madam Clerk?
We have registered the motion as being put in dismissed, and we have our reasons that Councillors Russell, Deputy Mayor Outhitt, and Councillor Lovelace had listed in their discussions, so they will be recorded in the minutes.
All right. With that matter being settled, I will now hand the gavel back over to Councillor Russell, and you can reassume the chair, sir. Thank you.
Chair, just one, Paul Sampson again. I just wanted to clarify with the solicitor that we have enough to go on there in terms of council's reasoning.
It's going to be the reasons that come from the discussion that the councillors had.
So Paul, are you asking the councillors to list a specific section of the MPS from attachment C and then provide the reasons?
Yes, well, what I was doing was asking the solicitor.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one having audio issues?
No, Paul, you cut out there.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm basically wondering if, I guess, if we have adequate reasons that council had indicated, or is it simply a matter of those have been provided by council and they will be made part of the record in terms of the minutes? Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Paul Russell, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. And yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Blackburn, for filling in for a few minutes. We are on item 10.1.2, case 21355, the development agreement for a residential subdivision between Lively Road and Wilson Lake Drive, Middle Sackville. And Stephanie Saloom, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to share my presentation.
We can see the first page of your presentation.
Perfect. So I can follow along, just 1 second. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair and the Council. My name is Stephanie Saloom. I'm a planner with the Rural Policy and Applications team. This evening, I'm presenting case 21355, an application for a development agreement for residential subdivision off Lively Road in Middle Sackville. Armco Capital Incorporated has applied for a development agreement to enable a 167-unit residential subdivision comprising of single-unit dwellings and semi-detached dwellings at a property between Lively Road and Wilson Lake Drive in Middle Sackville. The site is generally north of Sackville Drive, between Lively Road and Wilson Lake Drive. It's approximately 21.4 hectares, around 50 acres. The site does not have any frontage, but there are existing road reserves off Wilson Lake Drive that abut the property. And the applicant, Armco, they own another property off of Lively Road that also is abutting the subject property. So the two access points into the subject site are off Wilson Lake Drive and Lively Road. So you can see on the image to the right where the access points are proposed. This is a street view of the access off Lively Road, just after Civic number 135. And this is a view from Wilson Lake Drive. The access point would be between Civic numbers 56 and 76. This slide gives viewers at home an outline of the planning policy documents. At the highest level, we have our regional plan and subdivision bylaw, which applies to the entire municipality and generally guides where population growth and the investment of services should occur. Then the municipality is divided into communities, and each community has a municipal planning strategy or community plan that outlines where and how different types of development may occur, what tools can be used to enable that development, and if council approval and engagement with the public is required prior to getting a permit. And each community plan has at least one land use bylaw. The land use bylaw specifies what can be approved without going to council and seeking feedback from the public before getting a development permit. With regards to the subject site, the property is zoned CDD under the Sackville Land Use Bylaw, Comprehensive Development District. It's designated urban residential under the Sackville Municipal Planning Strategy. It's currently vacant, but was previously used as a racetrack. And there is policy under the Regional Municipal Planning Strategy that enables development of a residential subdivision on the site through the development agreement process. Just a bit of site history. The property was previously used as the Drag City Raceway. It's been vacant since for several years. There was an application in 2014, a previous application for this property under the same policy. It was for a 270 unit residential subdivision comprising of single unit dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, townhouses, and multiple unit buildings. There was a public information meeting held for this development proposal, and the application was withdrawn soon after that meeting. In 2017, we received a new application, which is the current file, for a 241 unit subdivision. There were revised plans submitted for this application and showing 165 units, which was then presented to the public at a public meeting in November of 2018. Since that meeting, revisions have been made to the proposal to address some of the staff and public feedback. And then in May 2020, a mail out was sent to area residents advising residents about the most recent submission and the revised plans. So this was the concept plan that was submitted for the previous application that came in 2014. It was for 270 units. I mentioned the unit mix that was proposed. There was a lot of public opposition for this concept. The submission that came in originally for the current application in 2017 was for 241 units. This proposal showed a mix of single unit dwellings and semi-detached dwellings, but various single unit dwellings comprising of 60-foot frontage lots, 40-foot frontage lots, and 35-foot frontage lots. The smaller lots are proposed towards the center of the site, and there was a tree buffer proposed between some of the existing abutting residential neighborhood and the proposed development. I think it was around 10 feet buffer that was proposed in this version. The concept plan was revised before it was presented to the public. The 35-foot frontage single unit dwelling lots were taken out of the proposal, but it did maintain the smaller lots towards the center of the site. One of the internal streets was also taken out, and the tree buffer between the existing surrounding residential neighborhood and the proposed development was expanded. The level of engagement completed for this application was achieved through a public information meeting that was held in November 2018 and a mail-out notification that was sent out in May of 2020. The applicant also held a couple public meetings that was outside of HRM's process, and I'm sure they will speak to that in their presentation. We sent out 77 notifications. We received a total of 12 phone calls and emails through the process. Since the beginning of this application, we had 1,735 unique web page views, so unique IP addresses, and an average time spent of 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Of the 1,735 unique views, 147 were within the last month. The feedback we got from the public generally included concern about the compatibility of the semi-detached units and the proposed lot sizes, the number of units and potential increase in traffic to the area, pedestrian safety, the proposed transportation network, impacts on existing road infrastructure, the effects of new construction on nearby properties, such as like wells and foundations, property values, the former use of the site as the racetrack and the potential environmental implications, presence, school capacity. There was support for the expansion of the tree buffer that was proposed between the existing residences and the proposed development. In June of 2020, the application was presented to Northwest Planning Advisory Committee. They recommended approval of the application with consideration given to traffic calming, relocating the proposed traffic lights to Wilson Lake Drive and Sackville Drive, and minimizing ATV use of one of the streets that's proposed. So the current proposal, there have been several versions of the concept plan, but the most recent version is for 167 units. The plan actually showed 163 units, but the applicant has requested that the development agreement enable 4 additional units if the final survey, detailed survey of the property permits. They're proposing a mix of 60-foot frontage, 50-foot frontage, and single unit dwellings, and 35-foot frontage semi-detached dwellings. The smaller lots are proposed towards the interior, and the buffer is maintained, the larger buffer is maintained between existing residences and the proposed subdivision. Some of the amendments that have been made to the proposal since the public information meeting and consultation with the Planning Advisory Committee. There have been changes through the planning process on the density proposed, the unit mix, and the tree buffers. There was also some changes to the neighborhood park that was proposed. It was shown at one version, I forgot to mention, outside of the boundary of what is zoned CDD where the policy applies. So that was another change made to the proposal. This is the proposed traffic or transportation network for the subdivision. So the site does not have public street frontage, but there is an existing road reserve off Wilson Lake Drive where there's a proposed one-way entrance into the subdivision. There's also a lot that is zoned R6, rural residential, to off Lively Road, where a road access and lots can be subdivided through the as of right subdivision process. So a two-way access off Lively Road is proposed across this property. Also, they're proposing a new traffic signal at the corner of Lively Road and Sackville Drive. The streets within the development are proposed to be two-way streets. So this slide just highlights some key aspects of the proposed development agreement. The DA allows a maximum of 167 units, a mix of single unit dwellings and semi-detached dwellings. Secondary and backyard suites are permitted under the DA, as these uses are permitted in all areas of the municipality where single unit dwellings and semi-detached dwellings are permitted. There are controls included for home-based businesses, uses that are consistent with what's allowed in the Sackville Land Use Bylaw. The controls on the location and the size of the neighborhood park, which is shown on the concept plan. If any additional parkland is required through the subdivision process, that would be accepted through as cash in lieu. The DA also speaks to the location and size of tree buffers between the proposed development and existing residences, servicing requirements, as well as signage provisions for a neighborhood sign. The policy that enables the proposed development agreement is policy SU6 of the Regional Municipal Planning Strategy. This policy allows a residential subdivision to be considered by the development agreement process with consideration of the mix of housing types, that the development doesn't detract from the general character of the community, that there are adequate and usable lands for community use, and the development is capable of being serviced without exceeding capacity of existing systems. The proposed development agreement also includes non-substantive amendments. A non-substantive amendment is a change to the agreement which can be made without a formal public hearing and can be authorized by council by resolution. The proposed development agreement includes non-substantive amendments such as on lot design and building siting requirements, provided that the maximum number of units of the overall development does not exceed 167. On the accessory building and structure requirements, changes to the date of commencement of construction, as well as the length of time for completion. This is an outline of the development agreement planning process. We're currently at the public hearing and decision stage of the process. After a decision is made on the proposed development agreement, there would be a 14-day appeal period. If the agreement is approved by council tonight and there are no appeals, then there would be the DA signing and registration of the agreement at the land registry. And until that registration is complete, then the applicant would be able to apply for permits or their final subdivision. In conclusion, staff recommend that the proposal is reasonably consistent with the applicable planning policies and recommend that Northwest Community Council approve the proposed development agreement as set out in attachment A of the staff report dated March 4th, 2021. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions of clarification of Ms. Saloon?
I see two in the chat, Mr. Chair.
Oh, I didn't see those. I'm sorry. I didn't see those. My apologies. Councillor Blackburn.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So just, just two quick questions for Stephanie. I'm just wondering why the lights are considered at Lively and Sackville Drive as opposed to Wilson Lake Drive and Sackville Drive, where the subdivision will be feeding off onto both of those streets. Wilson Lake Drive seems to be the one that is the most that's the one that seems to be the busiest as far as trying to get people in and out of Wilson Lake Drive. So just wondering why that. And my other question of clarification is, will there need to be any special environmental mitigation for the site given its former use as a drag strip, and God only knows what's buried underneath there once they start digging?
Thank you for the questions. Through you, Mr. Chair. The first question about the traffic lights. So our traffic and engineering staff have reviewed this site with the applicant on a few different occasions. Wilson Lake Drive is not preferred for the traffic lights, as there's concern about queuing and spilling over into the in the existing roundabout by Margison Drive. So there's actually concern about putting a traffic light at that location. So that's why the preferred location is at Lively Road. The proposal is also showing a one-way entrance in from Wilson Lake Drive. So to encourage people to use the traffic lights that are proposed, if it's approved by council at Lively Road, and it wouldn't put any traffic that would be proposed any traffic from the proposed subdivision onto Wilson Lake Drive, as they wouldn't be able to go down that. It's only a one-way in. Nobody can come out at that location.
And the environmental, just wondering
Yes.
what any special plans in place for that site given its past history?
So there have been environmental site assessments completed for that site. Those have, I think they've been not just a level 1, I think a level 2 has also been completed, and those have been reviewed by Nova Scotia Environment. I believe the applicant may be able to speak to that a bit more.
Okay, and can you confirm, so these new homes, they'll be fully serviced?
Correct. So the site is within the municipal service boundary. It's a bit different for people on the rural team to present files, but we were trying to help the urban team out. And so, yes, the site is fully serviced, and it would be connected to water and sewer.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Oath.
Thank you, Chair, and Stephanie, thank you for the presentation. And you and Theo were brought in to clear up those urban guys there, get them on track. So that's good. Serious question for a second, though. On the substantive versus non-substantive, I just had a question based on, and you've all heard my rant about what's gone right and wrong in big subdivision developments and whatnot in my district. Siting of buildings, to me, can be rather substantive in the minds of the people buying there and living there. And I'm just wondering why you felt that changing the siting of buildings, and that mean you could move the size of lots, you could move the multis, you could move the semis, I should have said. Would that not warrant some public consultation through being substantive versus non-substantive? What kind of led you to recommend non-substantive?
I'm just trying to find the section in the staff report. Sorry, 1 second.
At least I'm consistent with my rants anyway.
We felt that once the lot sizes were not changing, and the number of units wasn't changing, that was still reasonably consistent with the policy. So that's why it was listed as a non-substantive versus a substantive amendment.
So if I buy in the area and I buy a house on a 55-foot lot, and I think down the street from me and on my drive in, I'm going to see 50 and 60-foot wide lots and not 35s with semis. Not that there's anything wrong with those, I have lots of those, but that sort of thing would not change then.
No, it would be more about like setbacks and, I mean, the development agreement allows variances, so setbacks can generally be varied, but it would be more of like a consistent. A variance is normally considered for a one-off situation, like one lot. But if the applicant decided to change, they wanted to look at changing it for the overall development, it's something that we would consider through non-substantive process.
All right, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see any further speakers in the chat, so I will take just a minute. It is 10 to 9. Can I have a motion, please, to extend this meeting beyond 9 o'clock?
So moved, Tim.
Seconder?
Second, Lisa.
Seconded by Councillor Blackburn. Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. I only have one question. I mean, I've been watching this through its various iterations, and the property that is on Lively Road that would be used for the two-way street, does the proponent have ownership or an agreement with the current owner of that property to do this, or would this be entering into an additional complexity?
So that lot is currently owned by Armco, the applicant.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. So at this point, I would like to ask for a motion to open the public hearing, please.
I so move.
Councillor Blackburn, thank you. A seconder?
Second.
Councillor Lovelace, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I think we vote on this. Yep. Aye. All opposed? Good. The public hearing is open. At this point, I would like to invite the applicant. We have someone from ARMCO and someone from WSP who would be making a PowerPoint presentation. So the floor is yours. You have 10 minutes for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for allowing us to address you tonight. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Mark Willett with Armco Capital. The project we are presenting to you is the culmination of 7 years of negotiations with HRM. We started off with a very different proposal in 2014. After getting feedback from the community, we made significant changes to our development proposal, such as the inclusion of tree buffer areas, dropping the number of units by 38%, and eliminating apartment buildings and small lot singles. Next slide, please.
Mr. Chair, I'm getting feedback. I think somebody needs to turn down their.
I would agree. It sounds like there might be feedback between Mr. McCusker and Mr. Willett. Are you in the same room?
Yes.
You are, okay. And it now sounds like Mr. McCusker has put your headphones on, so okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's all good.
Next slide, please. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. When I first started working for ARMCO in 2019, a significant challenge remained on the traffic engineering front. We decided to hire a different consultant to see if they could provide a fresh perspective. In discussions with HRM, an innovative solution was devised using a one-way street to force vehicles towards Lively Road so that the traffic warrant could be met for a signalized intersection on Sackville Drive. In summary, ARMCO has worked diligently with HRM staff to evolve our concept to the point that we met all policy statements applicable to this property and have the positive recommendation of HRM staff. We have overcome many challenges and provided acceptable solutions along the way. Are there still issues to be addressed? Well, Mr. David McCusker from WSP will follow me in providing a summary on how we will address traffic concerns. On the environment front, we provided phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessments that showed there were no environmental concerns with the former raceway lands. Concerns have been brought up with the potential for this development to affect private wells. Our developments should not affect the quality or quantity of available groundwater, as the development will be serviced by municipal water and sewer. It would be a bigger concern if you were doing a development comprising of homes serviced by wells and septic. Large wetlands, which play an important role in recharging groundwater, will be avoided. All streams will be kept in their natural state and will include a 20-meter buffer on each side. Stormwater will be managed on site through a retention pond that will match pre and post development flows. Sedimentation control measures will be installed prior to construction and maintained throughout. Residents have also brought up the possibility of pyritic slate on the property. If this type of material is found on our site, it will be dealt with through the normal regulatory approval process that currently exists in Nova Scotia. However, if the material is indeed found on the property, we will mitigate the risk by limiting its disturbance as much as possible. As part of the detailed design phase, we will undertake a proper geotechnical investigation and come up with a proper plan. But this is not new. Pyritic slate is an issue in many areas of HRM and should not be held up as a reason to refuse a project. As much as possible, we will balance the site through the use of fill rather than excavating rock, and we will strive to minimize or eliminate the need for blasting. It should be noted that we did not blast in phase 6 of Berry Hills. Developers in HRM must work within a regulatory framework. We must comply with provincial acts and regulations, as well as HRM bylaws and design guidelines. Approval of this evening is not akin to receiving a rubber stamp. There is still a lot of work to be completed, and the design approval process that will follow will be detailed. The policies and the NPS sorry, go to the next slide, please. The policies in the NPS support development of this property through the DA process. Review by your planning staff has concluded that we comply with policies. The job of council is to determine whether this land use is acceptable. What council should not do is to second guess the expertise of Nova Scotia Environment or HRM Engineering in their review of detailed subdivision design. Some of this work has already taken place and will continue to take place over the course of the subdivision application. Final design review is a fairly lengthy process that involves many authorities. This is the best venue to review street design and to make sure that proper environmental controls are used. Armco has been a significant land developer in HRM since 1982. At a time where people are screaming for building lots, we currently have zero inventory. I repeat, zero inventory. And we are not alone in this situation amongst land developers in this great municipality. HRM must strive to encourage a healthy stable of land developers to continue producing residential building lots. With delays for approvals stretching years, only companies with strong financial capacities will be able to survive. If HRM is not careful, they will end up in a situation where one large company has a monopoly on the sale of residential lots. I don't think this would serve well HRM or society in general. With the demand of housing being what it is currently, and with the stated goal of HRM policies to encourage both population growth and provide decent, affordable residential housing options, refusing this project will only serve to further increase housing prices. As population migration from other provinces is currently leading to bidding wars. We can't have population growth if we have no residential units to accommodate them. And we can't have affordable residential solutions if our housing stock can't keep up with demand. It is as simple as that. Disaster comes to those who do not plan. Yes, Armco has a vested interest in obtaining council approval, but this is not just about Armco. The lack of inventory is also impacting our home building and road building partners, consultants, contractors, subcontractors, and more importantly, employees that depend on projects moving forward. The construction and development industry have been amongst the few bright spots that have maintained healthy job and investment levels in our municipality throughout the COVID pandemic. These linked industries are also expected to continue doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the years to come. This proposed project does not just represent spending power in HRM, but also an increased property tax base and additional transfer tax revenue, which HRM is increasingly dependent upon to fund new municipal objectives. We have this nice property falling within the municipal service boundary. We have worked hard in collaboration with HRM staff to not only comply with municipal policies, but also to alleviate the impact on the neighboring community. I urge members of council tonight to approve this project. In closing, I thank you for allowing us to present this evening, and would also like to thank HRM staff for the hard work they have put working on this file. I can't say it has been easy, but we have made huge strides. We will be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that presentation. At this point, I'd like to open the floor to councillors for any questions of clarifications. If you have any questions of clarification, please indicate that in the chat or by waving something in the camera. I don't see any questions of clarification, so thank you very much. At this point, we're moving forward with the public hearing. So any member of the public who has registered with the clerk's office on this matter will be given 5 minutes to address the topic. When I call your name, you may unmute your mic and begin speaking. Each speaker is asked to begin by stating your name and the name of the community in which you reside for the record. Keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to the chair. Once you've finished your comments and answering any questions of clarification, please hang up your phone or leave the Zoom meeting and watch the rest of the meeting using the webcast. And the link is available on the halifax.ca agenda page for this meeting. Over to the clerk for any technical instruction, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Where our one registered speaker is joining by Zoom, I don't need to give my extra instructions for people joining by phone. And Melissa is been upgraded to a panelist, so she should be able.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Melissa. We can see you and hear you. Go ahead. You've got 5 minutes.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Chair. My name is Melissa Boland. I'm a resident of Berry Hill subdivision and have been so for almost 6 years. I'm joining you tonight to identify 2 topics and ask 4 questions. I will keep this short, not only because we're running late, but none of these are surprising to council and have also been touched on tonight. I'm concerned, and I'm not alone in this, about the traffic safety concerns this development will highlight, not create, highlight, that are already happening, particularly at Wilson Lake and Lively. Mr. Chair, I was saddened to learn tonight, and on page 4 of the document attached to the agenda, that indicates traffic signaling at Wilson Lake Road is not advised because of the backups this will cause to the roundabout. This is very disconcerting as a resident who'd been previously told through Councillor Blackburn, by staff through Councillor Blackburn, that there was no reason a light could not go there. That intersection is dangerous enough now, and the heavy equipment that will be traveling that road will make it much worse. It wasn't safe before the change in transportation patterns with the pandemic, and it hasn't gotten better with less traffic. Heavy equipment like dump trucks and supply trucks that are going to be needed for this development turning from Wilson Lake Road onto Sackville Drive toward the roundabout will be very dangerous with the speeds currently set along Sackville Drive. Part of the issue with this intersection is the lack of follow-up with the developer at the strip mall in replacing the bike lanes and making the lanes wide enough for traffic in the area. This development, as presented tonight, will drive current traffic through the new development from Wilson Lake Drive to Lively to avoid the current challenges at Wilson Lake Drive. For the tenure of my residency here, I've been concerned about the safety of turning left out of any street on Berry Hill subdivision, and I'm waiting for serious injury or even death of my family and neighbors. That's no overstatement whatsoever. I have 3 questions on this topic. Having a traffic light at Lively when Hamilton, the equivalent of 1 city block away, is the primary street of the local elementary school, and a light at Lively would cause challenges coming to and from the school and the new development that's just up the street from Hamilton. Can the issue of traffic signaling be revisited? Is it possible to reduce the speed limit on Sackville Drive and divert heavy equipment away from the intersection of Wilson Lake Road and Sackville Drive until the issue of safety at that intersection is properly addressed? And my last question, will the city be following up with the strip mall on the promises they made prior to breaking ground 6 or 7 years ago and have yet to fulfill? The second topic that I'd like to address is the environmental impact of this development. I appreciate the information just shared in the applicant's presentation and the statement that there's no anticipated impacts on water quality of my neighbors who have wells. If there is in fact disruption to their well water though, what will be the recourse for those affected? Thank you very much for listening and doing your best to answer my questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boland. At this point, I'd like to point out that this is an opportunity for you to make a presentation to the Northwest Community Council. It is not a back and forth with questions. However, if staff would like to respond to those questions, or I would also like to open it up to the floor for questions from councillors. Are there any questions from council, or would staff be interested in Councillor Lovelace?
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak. Thank you, Ms. Boland, for raising your concerns. And Mr. Roulette, thank you for your presentation. I will note that was a little doom and gloom that I don't share. I do feel that there are many other responsibilities that we have as councillors, and safety of our community safety of our community, environmental concerns, the social and well-being of our communities, and certainly the viability and health of those communities, as well as, of course, housing. And as you know, housing is not an issue. The crisis that we're in right now is not an issue that just appeared, right? This is something that we've been struggling with for quite some time, nationally and certainly in larger cities in North America. That being said, you know, when I look at this proposal, one of the questions I have, and I have to raise this, and I hope that there's somebody on the call that can answer this, but one of the comments that came from the Planning Advisory Committee was around making changes to the roadway and the driveway, the roadway, specifically to address and mitigate the ATV traffic in this area.
Excuse me, Councillor Lovelace. Is this a question of clarification for Melissa Boland or for staff?
I'm sorry, this is for staff.
Okay. I think we can, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrea. You're absolutely right.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. No, this is a question of clarification for Melissa Boland.
No.
It's all good.
I apologize. I have a question. I'll wait.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of clarification for Ms. Boland? At this point, I would like to invite the applicant to speak and respond to the points raised by Ms. Boland, and give you 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to respond to one of the questions. Mr. Dave McCusker, who was actually supposed to present after me, it kind of got cut off pretty quickly, but he can surely respond to the question relating to the traffic signals. But in terms of damage that we could do to wells, there's always a procedure, pre-blast survey that's done before we would do any blasting. So the responsibility is on the developer if there's any damages done to buildings or wells in this case. This is not anything new. It's a typical process in HRM. You know, just to address what Councillor Lovelace said, I didn't mean to be doom and gloom. I'm just suggesting that we've had discussions with engineering and environment on the matters for a while now, and we're just going through the procedures that falls under their regulations. In terms of the traffic situation, I'm not sure if you can get Dave McCusker back on, but he can respond to that better than I could.
Yeah, I think you can hear me.
Yes, we
just
can.
in response to, you know, those who are concerned that there is no signalization on Wilson Lake Drive, that, you know, I would suggest with the signals on Lively Road, it's just a matter, if you don't feel it's a safe intersection, to drive one extra block and use the signals at Lively to get out instead of Wilson Lake Drive. And there will be people who do that. We know from other examples in HRM where signals are installed that traffic will migrate from adjacent streets to take advantage of the safety and the efficiency that the signals provide. And because of that, the lineups on Wilson Lake Drive to get out of the stop sign will be shorter because some of the traffic has migrated. So there is benefit to all of the side streets with the presence of signals on Lively Road. The other thing that occurs with signalization is right now there's a fairly steady stream of traffic on Trunk 1 that's difficult to find a gap to get out into. With traffic signals, that traffic then becomes bunched up on the red light and then let go in the green light and then bunched up again on the red light. So that induces gaps into the stream of traffic that vehicles are able to get out of other streets from stop signs much more easily. So there is benefit to all of the streets, not just Lively Road, with the presence of signals.
Thank you very much for those responses. Not seeing any further questions. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Actually, Mr. Chair, can I respond as well?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought I was reading the script. Yes, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I just had a couple other things to add to what the applicant said with regards to the questions from Ms. Boland. So there are several bylaws that regulate construction activity in the municipality, and these bylaws aim to, and it's throughout the construction process, and these bylaws really aim to protect people's private property. So the concerns about wells and adjacent properties, those bylaws are there to mitigate the impacts to the adjacent properties. Also, actually that came, yeah. Also with regards to the traffic lights, there was some concerns about pedestrian safety. I think the traffic lights can also help mitigate, like streamline some of the pedestrian connections as well. And as was mentioned by the traffic engineer from ARMCO, pushing traffic to Lively Road at that signalized intersection should help with the the current access to Sackville Drive off Wilson Lake Drive. That's sort of the comments and the feedback that we got from our traffic and engineering staff at HRM.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please? Councillor Outfit, seconder, please.
Councillor Daigle-Gammon.
Councillor Daigle-Gammon, thank you. All in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Great, thank you very much. So at this point, again, reading through the script, I'd like to provide staff with an opportunity to address any further comments from the public. Again, I'm going back to the script, and what are the wishes of council?
I can put the motion on the floor, Mr. Chair, if you wish.
Thank you.
I move that Northwest Community Council 1 approve the proposed development agreement, which shall be substantially of the same form as set out in Attachment A in the staff report dated March 4th, 2021, and 2, require the agreement be signed by the property owner within 240 days or any extension thereof granted by council on the request of the property owner from the date of the final approval by council and any other bodies as necessary, including applicable appeal periods, whichever is later. Otherwise, this approval will be void and obligations arising hereunder shall be at an end. I so move.
Seconded by Councillor Lovelace. Are there any questions or any discussion?
So I had a question.
Go ahead, Councillor Lovelace.
Thank you. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that one. So I'm just looking for clarification that, one of the recommendations Steph made through the Planning Advisory Committee was to mitigate traffic with ATVs. And I'm just trying to get a sense of, are we dealing with traffic concerns with regular commercial and cars and bikes and motorcycles and so on and so forth, as well as ATVs on these roadways that is causing some problems?
Through the chair to the councillor.
Sorry.
So that was a concern. So concerns were raised by the Planning Advisory Committee about mitigating speeds within the development. HRM does have a traffic calming program, but that's applied to existing streets. So in the proposed development agreement, there is text to allow for design elements to be included in the detailed design of streets to mitigate speeds in the development. And this is with regards to the ATVs. Apparently that's an existing concern. There is ATV use in the community. So we're hoping that the text to mitigate speeds and there's designed to assist with some of those concerns.
And do we currently have traffic calming measures within the community on some of those community streets right now?
I'm actually not 100% sure on that. I do think there was an application for a portion of, I'm not 100% sure.
No, I'm just trying to understand what has been done to address some of the traffic concerns, as Ms. Boland has indicated. If there's anyone on the call here that can speak to that, because it certainly adds to the concerns within the community if they're not seeing, any of their traffic concerns being addressed. Certainly that then is a heightened awareness of an ongoing problem.
So this application is focused on subject property, and the policies sort of apply to this property. So we would be looking at what can be done on this property, and what upgrades to existing infrastructure would be required to support the proposed development. With regards to existing conditions, it would just be to ensure that the proposed development doesn't, if there are impacts, that there are certain upgrades to accommodate for those impacts, like the traffic lights, for example, but there's nothing that has really come up in the review with regards to traffic calming besides what's proposed on the subject property.
No, and I do understand that what I'm seeing here is a potential for an increase through the traffic pattern, coming in and using that Dusk Drive as sort of a throughway. So I'm just asking the question as to whether or not we've addressed any of the traffic issues. Certainly I understand once the road is built, that can get on the list for assessment, but it doesn't address the concerns in the wider community is what I'm trying to get at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Blackburn, you've come off mute. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so just to put a little bit of context about or around this this project and my experience with this planned project. This has been definitely planned for quite a while. So it's gone through, as you can see through the history, a number of different versions. And, I must say that the applicant has been very good about reaching out to the community, along with the public meetings that have been held from HRM's perspective. The applicant actually went out and held their own public information meeting because they were really wanting to hear back from the community. Sorry about that. Hear back from the community on their concerns. And as you can see, the applicant has responded in kind. This project really has been front and center from a community visioning perspective for a while. Good to see that the environmental aspect of the old drag track is definitely on their mind as they do this. This project has been tweaked a number of times, and I'm definitely pleased to see what it has morphed into. Just to follow up on a couple of questions that Ms. Boland had, the speed limit on that section of Sackville Drive, that actually was just lowered from 70 to 60. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to change speed limits, reduce them. That all has to go through the province. So that's definitely something that I can look at to see if moving down to a 50 through that stretch is appropriate. She mentioned the commercial development across from Wilson Lake Road, or Wilson Lake Drive rather. They're actually going to be fixing that this summer. There was a number of concerns about the removal of a bike lane and the landscaping, and that actually is going to be dealt with this summer. So hopefully that answers most of the questions that she had. When it comes to the traffic situation, I agree that lights would be, certainly better placed at Wilson Lake. I understand the reasoning behind that after having done the traffic counts, that, there is the concern with traffic moving up onto the roundabout. but agree with staff that by introducing the lights, the traffic signals at Lively, that will also give a safe pedestrian crossing there as well, and should actually work to move traffic a little better off of Wilson Lake onto Sackville Drive. So I'm pleased that traffic signals are part of that. When it comes to water, this is, as Ms. Salumas pointed out, this is really a unique situation where you have an area in the middle that is going to be fully serviced water and sewer, and then the homes surrounding it still relying on well and septic. But as been pointed out, they're not going to be digging down deep enough to impact onto the wells. But what I've been telling everybody from the very first community meetings, if you do have a concern about your well water, go now and get a water test done. It's worth the $25, $50, whatever it is now, to get those done, because at least you establish a baseline. And if flow of water is a concern, take a video, put your kitchen tap on full blast and record it for a few seconds, so you again have a baseline. That way, if anything does happen, in the unlikely event that it does happen, you do have that evidence and that baseline to help with your case. But I am confident that there are the mitigations in place to deal with any issues regarding water. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't see any further questions in the chat. If I'm not mistaken, and Councillor Blackburn, you can correct me if I am, there are 3 speed humps on Wilson Lake Drive. I'm not sure of the location of them, but there is some degree of traffic calming there.
Yes.
Not seeing any further questions. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Great, thank you very much. Let me see now, where did we get to? Did we get to, we got through correspondence, petitions, and presentations.
Yes.
And so we are at 13.1.1 question mark?
I think we did 13.1.1.
I thought we did as well. Thank you. Yeah. For me, it's been a long day, and I apologize for.
I checked in with Simon before he left, and he had confirmed we had done 13.1.1. So we're on to 13.1.2.
13.1.2 is case 22726, amendments to the Bedford Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw for 16 Rutledge Street, Bedford. Councillor Outfit.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to put on the floor the motion that the Northwest Community Council recommend that Regional Council 1 give first reading to consider the proposed amendments to the Municipal Planning Strategy and Land Use Bylaw for Bedford as set out in attachments A and B of the staff report dated April 6, 2021 to change 16 Rutledge Street from a residential 2-unit zone to residential multi-unit zone and schedule a public hearing. So moved.
Any seconder?
Second.
Second.
I think.
Sorry,
Andrea.
There's a second part. There's a second part to the motion.
I'm sorry. I thought.
and to adopt the proposed amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaws in the chat.
Yeah, I don't. Sorry, and I know I've had this flare up before, but I don't. This is a recommendation before we've heard from the public, though, that we're asking this to be adopted. I always struggle on this one. I don't know if Roxanne or I see Miles there as well. Are we not presupposing the outcome?
If I may, you're not bound by the recommendation, and it is the role of community council to make recommendations to regional council. So it's up to council as to whether they want to move forward with the recommendation or not. But that's generally done. And again, no, you're not bound by any recommendation that can change following a full public hearing.
All right, thank you. Maybe I guess I'm overthinking it. So I'll continue on with my motion, and Mr. Chair, with my apologies. And that adopt the proposed amendments to the municipal plan strategy and land use bylaw for Bedford as set out in attachments A and B. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Oath. Can we now have a seconder, please? I saw both Councillors Blackwood. There's Councillor Lovelace. Thank you. Are there any? Go ahead, Councillor Oath.
It's an old pet peeve of mine, but maybe I'm overthinking tonight, Mr. Chair, and we've had a long day.
Yes, we have. We're anticipating a few more. Are there any further speakers to the motion?
Question?
Super. All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
13.2 is members of Northwest Community Council, and there are 5. Motions, there are none. There is nothing in camera. Added items, there are none. Notices of motion. Hearing none. The next one, we have the public participation section.
And Mr. Chair, I have sent emails to the person who registered to speak, and I have phoned her, and she hasn't responded back to me, and she hasn't joined the meeting.
So I can speak to that. We spoke. She's been connected to staff, and I think that there is a resolution in the works with that case.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So public participation.
Did Walter not get the memo, Mr. Chair? I'm surprised.
It was not Walter, but there we go. So no public presentation tonight. The date of the next meeting is June 14th, 2021. And with that, we are at adjournment. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Gillis.
Mr. Gillis, Sean Gillis, Planning and Development. Did we deal with item 13.12 at Rutledge Street?
Yes, I moved that.
My apologies.
Yeah.
I missed that entirely. It was so quick. My apologies.
Actually, I did it twice because I did it wrong the first time.
Yes.
That's right.
My apologies, folks.
It's all good. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Do it for a third time, maybe, Tim?
Yeah, third time's lucky. Good night, all.
That was from Councillor Lovelace. Thank you very much. We stand adjourned.
Thank you so much, folks.